Hello, everyone. You're listening to The Right Side of Gaming. Today, I'm going to be taking a slight break from tabletop gaming just because a game I really enjoyed and, at least originally, was really looking forward to happens to be in the news this week. Today, we're going to be talking about Anthem, the video game, and its either cancellation or expansion. So, if you're not aware, Anthem is one of those always online, perpetual world RPG-ish third-person shooters. You play a freelancer, which means you are basically in a little bit bigger than a human-sized mech suit, and you fly around very Iron Man-like. The story is all about these shapers and the anthem of creation, but to put it simply, it's basically if the Greek gods used machines to harness the power of the Force, then left but forgot all their toys. That is the world you live on. They never finished it. The world. The game was technically finished. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of science fiction, science fantasy type things going on. You have your normal, gunplay. You have flying mechs, and the flying does come up. You don't do a whole lot of it in combat, but it's great for repositioning yourself, and it's great for just flying through sort of just the world itself. It's like the bullet jumping and stuff in Warframe. You don't do a whole lot of it in combat. Probably a little more, flying in Anthem than bullet jumping in Warframe, but it's just one of those things that's fun to do. And you have your suits. They all have special abilities, some of them more magic-like than others, thanks to your various shaper relics. But a lot of it, story-wise, that you're going to be doing is trying to get those shaper relics or turn them off, keep everyone safe, and you have your enemy lancers, your enemy, factions, alien races, all that good stuff. Now, Anthem did not do well on release review-wise. People did not like it. Personally, I found it enjoyable. I love the story, although I'm with a lot of people in that the content kind of got old and repetitive after a while, and they didn't really add a whole lot in. So they wound up kind of having to not necessarily scrap everything, but start from the ground up. And they started talking about doing what we're calling at the moment Anthem Next, where they were going to go back and overhaul a bunch of things. They had a team of about 30 people or so working on it, and this week EA decides whether they're going to expand that team or shut it down entirely. If they expand it, we do have some idea of the end product that we're going to get. First, they're going to add in skill trees. That was something that I think was originally in sort of the alpha or beta, but then they decided to take it out, so it didn't make it into the release game, and now it looks like they're going to put it back in. Now, these skill trees are going to be how you unlock abilities, both passive abilities as well as active abilities, rather than having them tied to gear, and you'll also get stat boosts. There's going to be a basic skill tree for each javelin, and then specializations with their own advanced skill trees for each of the javelins. And one of the pictures that we saw, that again, this stuff is not necessarily going to be how it's going to be on release, but they gave you an example. You had the ranger and its skill trees, and then you could pick captain, longbow, or soldier and get another set of skill trees to work off of. They're also going to be redoing loot. We've already stated that they're going to take some of the special abilities and take them off of gear and put them in your skill trees. We're going to have 11 equipment slots total. First, your primary and secondary weapons. As it stands so far in the game, you can mix and match however you want. You have 2 weapon slots to equip, and you can put whatever you want in either one. There's slight restrictions as far as what javelin can use what. The smaller javelins can use the heavy pistol and the machine pistols, but not the big guns. And then you have the Colossus that can use your grenade launchers, and your like big Gatling gun type weapons, but not your little hand pistols. But other than that, you can put 2 of the same weapon type or any of the weapon types that you can equip in either equipment slot. In the remap, they're going to separate them into primary and secondary weapons. And if you look at it, a lot of it, both visually and some of what we're going to be talking about today, does remind me a bit of Destiny, if you've played that. So you'll probably get a little bit of an idea of what they mean by, say, primary and secondary weapons and skill trees and things like that. Currently, a good portion of your build is based on your components. There's about 6 of them, I think, and you have about 11 total so far. And right now, when you go in and you edit your character and all that, you can go in those components. Some are universal that anyone of any class can equip, and some are class Javelin specific. And they all have sort of small bonuses. And then at higher rarities, they have that small bonus, but they also have sort of an additional ability that you use to sort of create your actual build. In Anthem Next, they're going to have mods and artifacts to replace components. So between the mods and artifacts, and then sort of the skill trees replacing the special abilities, what they're looking to do is have it where when you level up, that's how you gain access to your special abilities. And you're going to have them always, as long as you have that skill tree node or whatever unlocked. And this sort of takes away the need to get specific pieces of gear to use specific abilities. Originally, it's like, okay, if I really want this piece of gear, or if I really want this ability, I have to have a specific piece of gear. And I want it to be something decent. And then it's like, oh, I level up, and, well, this piece of gear is trash now. I don't want it. Even though it's, the ability that I like and wanted to use. I think the idea in Anthem Next is, okay, I unlock this ability, and yeah, any of these mods I equip, might work with this ability, but the mod is going to be what I focus on. I can still use whatever ability I want, and then I just change out the mods rather than having to completely change what your Javelin does just because you level up or get something new. You're still going to have about 11 equipment slots, at least based on the picture they give us, but it's going to be more modifying your abilities rather than determining what abilities you're using. And that gives you a lot more freedom in making your build, I think. And I think that's what they're going for. They're also going to change how the leveling up system works. In the original version, you leveled your character to level 30. Didn't matter what javelin you were flying. If you were level 15, you were flying a level 15 javelin. You might have worse gear in one than another, and your gear score affects a lot. But you were always going to be level 15. You level 20, again, always level 20, and so on. In the new version, you're going to have to level up javelins individually, which makes sense because each javelin is going to have its own skill tree. So you level up that javelin, and you get skill points to unlock your abilities, your passives, all that stuff. And then if you want to switch javelins, it's like, okay, well, you have to level that one up now too, and you get points for its skill tree in doing so. They also want to make loot a little bit easier. First, they want loot to be a little more frequent, and for you to maybe get better drops, which that's something that's always a pain in these looter shooters, is trying to get something that's halfway decent and usable. That's one of the things they have improved on at least a little bit. You're not really getting pieces of gear that have completely unusable inscriptions, those little modifiers at the bottom. But it still plays a big part. Like you have to get, in the current version, you have to get certain inscriptions to really get a good piece of gear. So they're changing up how the inscriptions work. Each piece of gear is going to have sort of a little budget based on its power and rarity. And items aren't going to be, useless just because they don't have that plus 225% weapon damage inscription or something like that. So what's going to make a really good item is going to be about the type of bonuses and not necessarily having the max value. So that implies to me that maybe they're taking out the variable amounts, and it's going to be more about getting the specific types you want. Now, that's already something in the game. If you have a certain build or piece of gear and you want it to be as effective as possible, you do want to get the specific type of bonuses, but you also have to try to roll and get really good numbers, which it sounds like they're taking that part out to make things a lot easier for a lot of people. They're also going to make it where you can re-roll inscriptions and level up items so that if you find a piece of gear you like, you don't necessarily have to give it up completely. It's also going to be possible to farm targeted gear. As it stands, whatever you roll for, it's going to be completely random. You get a legendary drop, it could be pretty much anything. They do have some little shrines in there now where you can at least roll specific types of gear. Like I want to roll for a weapon, I want to roll for a class component or a melee weapon or something like that. This will actually let you, farm quests or maybe have special vendors or unique loot tables, which I assume would be for like specific named creatures or something like that, where you can actually go out and say, okay, I want this very specific weapon. There might be a way to get it without having to at least take a completely random roll. What the stats and bonuses are going to be, that'll still be random, but at least I know this, creature or quest or whatever drops this specific weapon. They also talk about rare enemies that are walking treasure chests that give you a burst of loot, which is giving me flashbacks to those little loot creatures from Borderlands 3, so that'll be fun. There'll also be some nice little quality of life improvements with that. They want, the gear you to pick up to be revealed right away, and then you can equip it right away. As it stands in Anthem now, if I go out and I'm out in the world or I do a quest and I pick up a piece of gear, I won't know what it is until the very end of the mission. I have to end the mission or get out of open play or whatever to have it unlock and tell me this is what that is. They've made an improvement where if I know what the gear already is, if it's stuff I had before this, I can actually go in and change it and equip it out and swap gear around. And now it's like, okay, you get something new, you can immediately equip that too, and that'll be nice. They're also finally going to give us a detailed stat sheet. As it stands, we get all these bonuses, and we have no idea what the end result is. Like, we can go through and count it all, but then you're stuck thinking, okay, what exactly is my ending damage percentage increase? What is my total crit chance? What is my cooldown rate? I don't know. We can't actually see any of that in game, but they're going to give us a detailed stat sheet that'll say, this is everything you've got, these are the actual numbers, have at it. Finally, they're going to be doing things like trying to give us more build options, like maybe a melee build, improve gunplay and the AI, and maybe expand on and add new factions. So it'll be pretty ambitious if we actually get the game. Again, EA decides this week if they want to expand the dev team or completely trash it. And it hasn't had the best reputation in the community, although it's bounced back quite a bit. And the price has kind of plummeted. So I don't think people really value it the same way they did when it was first coming out. But we'll have to wait and see what they decide. Honestly, I'm hopeful, but I would also understand if they chose not to continue with the game. And that's all I had for today. We'll be back to tabletop and I think specifically Magic Legends and Magic the Gathering on Friday. If you want to leave a like, comment, subscribe, that would be great. If you don't, that's okay too. Either way, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.